Hello everyone, my name is Giovanni098 and today I'm going to be bringing you a World Painter tutorial. It's just going to be a basic tutorial that's going to show you all the things you're going to need to get a world started real quickly. If you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you want any more videos regarding World Painter or any other programs for Minecraft, make sure to let me know. So let's get the video started. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is create a world. So you go to File, New World, and this is going to come up. We're going to name the world World Painter Tutorial. So over here you have the dimensions. Here you can choose the dimensions for the world that you're going to be making. First of all, it's going to be a square world, so you could change the dimensions between that if you want. However, I'm going to be making a circular world, so you just click that. Notice that you can't change that setting anymore. You only have this one to change. This is the diameter. So let's say I wanted to create a world that's 250 radius. I would make it a 500 block diameter. So we're going to leave it at that. You're going to leave the world height the same, you don't want to change that, and you could decide if you want it to already be like hilly or if you want it to be flat. Usually I recommend you starting on a flat world just from scratch. The levels, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's the world level and the water level. If the water level is higher, you're going to have an ocean, and if it's lower, you're just going to have land. I like to keep the water level at 45 and just the world level at 50, so there's a 5 block difference, and leaving these settings will allow you to create lakes in your world pretty easily. We're just going to leave the surface material to grass. If you want to change it to anything else, you could do it later on. Alright, and then you're just going to decide if you want an ocean or a land. Since it's a flat world, it doesn't really matter which one you pick. And then you just click create. So it's going to have the world here. Using control and the plus and minus, never mind. Just by holding control and using your scroll wheel, you could zoom in and out of the world, to get better detail of whatever you're working on. We're just going to leave it at the regular size. So first of all, I'm going to show you the brushes. World Editor already comes with a preset amount of brushes, which you could find on the right side whenever you open up the program. You could, mess around with each of these brushes. You could also, additionally, make your own brushes or download other brushes that other people have made to mess around with World Edit. I really recommend doing this. If you want, I can make a video later on that, or you could look up a tutorial on how to do it on YouTube. So after you look around at the brushes, see which ones you want to use. You can mess around with the brush settings, which I'm going to move to the side. You could mess around with the rotation, and you could see how it looks over here. Mess around with the rotation and the intensity. The intensity is going to be very important whenever you're working on the terrain. And then there's more settings you can mess around with. Now let's look at the tools. There's different tools. The most common one is the height tool. So let's say I wanted to create something with that. You just hold it, you left click, and it's going to start terraforming. And so that's the easy way to do it. You could also do right click, and it's going to lower the terrain, and you'll see over here I'll make a little lake. So you could also do that, and so that's pretty simple. Then there's the flatten tool. Let's zoom in a little bit on the world. So let me get this brush. Let's say I wanted to flatten out this little area right here. You just hold and it's gonna flatten it out. You could also do the same with any level, as long as you're clicking whichever one you want, and it's gonna flatten that out. It'll be very useful whenever you have a lot of rough terrain, but you wanna have some flat parts to, let's say, create towns or things like that. So that's pretty useful. Then there's the smooth tool. This is to smooth out the terrain. Notice how it's rough right here. You click it, it smooths it out, smooths out the edges, and it's just a very good tool. Changing the intensity will make things faster. Let's switch to the elevation tool. So notice how quickly it does it now. Lowering the intensity is gonna do it slower. So depending on if you want to make something very detailed, it's recommended that you work with a lower intensity, so you get things just the way you want them. Now there's the mountain tool. It just creates mountains. It's not really one of the best tools, I guess you could say. Let me raise the intensity because then it's not going to do anything. It's better to use the elevation tool. The mountain tool, it doesn't create the things you would want to. Unless you have the correct brushes, it's not really going to work out, because look how it looks whenever you're making the mountains. It just looks bad compared to how this looks. There's the spawn point tool. That is just to change the spawn around. I recommend leaving it the way it is whenever you regenerate the world, because you know where the center is. There's also the sponge tool. You could use this tool to, you know, get rid of the water. And then there's global operations, which is like just more settings you could mess around with. But let's say you want to add that water back. There's also an insert water and lava tool, whichever one you want. We're going to use the water one to put the water back here. You can see it works the way the layers work. So I just pick whatever layer I want the water to go to, and bam. There's also pyramid tools. They're not really that useful. Look, let me just show you the way they work. That one's like a 45-degree, and this one's a 90-degree pyramid. And they're nothing special. I really don't use them at all whenever I'm terraforming, unless you're making like a desert theme map, then you could use that. Then there's also the layers. With the layers, you could do, I guess you could add more stuff to whatever map you're making. So let me add a mountain range over here in the map somewhere. It'll be a really, let me erase the intensity. Let's say it's a big mountain range. What I could do with the layers is I could add frost to the top of the mountain. So let's do that. Let me grab a different brush and lower intensity. And you could even zoom in if you want to cover the right areas. And then you just put the frost on top of the mountain. And that just makes it look better, you know, because mountains usually have snow on the top. But it's not just frost. You could also insert caverns on different places around the map. So just by holding this down, it'll add caverns inside of the mountains if there's room for them. You could also do the same thing with chasms, and you could add other trees. So let me just real quickly, zoomed out too much. Let me just real quickly do some more terraforming around this map with just, you know, some random brushes, just to have something else to work with. Let me get rid of this. That right there. Alright, back to the elevation tool. And, you know, just mess around with the terrain a little bit. Use different brushes, mess around. Depending on the brush you're using and how big it is, it might, you know, do it slowly like it's doing it right now. But, you know, it's rewarding. It makes the world look way better whenever you're done with it at the end. So there we go. So that's a good terraformed world. Let's say I wanted to add some pine trees around it. Just grab whatever brush you want and just paint with it. Your intensity is going to affect this. The higher the intensity, the more trees there are going to be in that area. So you want to sort of balance that out. So let's say I want this just to be all pine trees. And then I'm pretty sure the city is like oak tree types. So let's do that. And, you know, you could choose what places you want more resources and things like that. You could also change the biomes. There's a whole biomes list. Let me move it to the side. So let's say I want this part over here where the pyramids are. I want that to be desert. So I just choose the desert and paint on that area. And that area is now going to be a desert biome. So the grass is going to be a different color, you know. That's going to change. If you want it, and you see how it's going to be fading into the biome, so that's pretty good. And then you could do a bunch of other stuff. Now you can mess around with the terrain as well. So let's say I wanted that part to be desert and sand, because, you know, it's a desert biome. So I just color that part with the terrain, and it's gonna make the terrain like it would be in a normal Minecraft world. So that saves you time from putting down cactus and, you know, all the different blocks that would go into that type of terrain. And you can switch it to a bunch of other things depending on what type of map you're making. You could do the same thing with stained clay, and you could even create your own custom terrain. But that's more advanced stuff. So that's the main point here. So you can see we have a world created, we have the trees in place, we have most of the stuff we want. With the terrain, let's say I wanted to add just some bare sand here just to make a little beach. You could easily do that. Just do it slowly. It's better whenever you actually take your time though in making the world, but I'm just going sort of quickly here just to show you guys the main aspect of it. You could add also other blocks on top. So let's say I wanted stone on this mountain, some little snowy like a stone top, put some stone over here too, and then cover that with frost. You know, that'll make it look pretty well. Now whenever you're working on maps, you always want to be looking at the 3D view, because that's sort of going to show you how your map is looking. So you could see the way the map looks. It's not going to load up the trees, but it tells you where the trees are. And with this, you could set up your own world if you're making, like, let's say a survival games map or any other type of map. So that's pretty awesome. Make sure you're always looking at the 3D view. Right here is going to show you a shortcut so you could open it without going to view. Now let's export the world. By exporting the world, you just go to export and export as new Minecraft map. I like to keep the top layer minimum depth at 2 and that as well as 2, and make sure that that's not clicked. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to make, but most of the time you're not going to want the steep terrain covered, because it's not going to show, let's say, the stone that's underneath or things like that. You could also change the underground material. I'm just going to leave it as stone, and a bottomless world, and you can change the border that you want. I'm just going to leave it as a void because that's what I want. Make sure you change it from survival to creative and allow the cheats. I like to keep the chest of goodies because that sort of forgot to where the middle is. You could also change other things around, such as the caverns and chasms. Go more in depth where they're going to be spawning and everything. The resources, the amount of resources, so let's say you want a lot of diamonds to be spawning in that world, you could change that. And other things as well. Make sure you have the smooth snow, because without the smooth snow, all the frost that we put on there is not going to look the same. Make sure that, and frost in the trees, you know, because you want everything covered. So let's export the world. Now, depending on the type of computer that you have, it may take a long time to export the world, or it may take a little bit of time. So I'm just gonna cut up to the part where I load up the world in Minecraft so I can show you guys the way it looks. I'll see you there. Alright everyone, welcome back. So we are here now in the world that we created in World Painter, and as you saw, it was very quick. I did everything in World Painter in about 10 minutes. And look at some of the stuff that we were able to create. Here's a big long mountain range that we added the snow to. That looks pretty cool. I'm guessing that over here on the other side we have the other mountain that we made. And all of this, whenever you load up the world, it might be slightly laggy at first whenever you launch it, but just wait a little bit and it should get better. But World Painter is a very awesome tool. One of the things that you want to try to do with it is create some rough terrain, because World Painter tends to do a lot of smooth terrain with the brushes that it has, and that usually doesn't look very good. So making some of your own custom brushes or downloading someone else's custom brushes to make your own terrain, it's recommended whenever you're terraforming with World Painter. It's just launching it up and messing around with it. I hope you guys did enjoy the tutorial though. If you found it useful, make sure to leave a like, and if you have any other suggestions or questions, or any other things you want to know about World Painter, I'm willing to make a part 2 in which I go more in depth about some of the other tools and how to create certain type of terraform features like big mountain ranges and big lakes and things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.